Hi and Happy New Year. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Anissa. I am the Crafty author and welcome to my quilting studio. Today we are going to be starting on a baby quilt. And so I'm going to show you what I've been doing so far. I've got some pieces cut. So I just used some yardage that I had in my stash behind me. So I have already cut these. These are 5.5-inch squares. And I also have these that I cut into 5.5-inch squares. And again, I just bought the yardage from my local quilt store and I brought it home and I cut it with my AccuQuilt because it gives me a lot more of an accurate cut. I don't know if you can see that. This is the 5.5-inch Go die. It gives you more of a clean cut. It's exact and precise and very clean. So I'm going to show you how that works. I'm going to be using my AccuQuilt GO Big machine today to cut these. Also saves my hands and my wrists a lot of pressure. So that's what we're working with here. I also have this beautiful little flower fabric that's going to go into this little quilt. For this project, you will need 42 5.5-inch squares. You're going to need 14. If you're only going to work with 3 colors like I am, you'll need 14 of each fabric. And I'm going to show you how I do this. Now with this fabric here, I want to cut this into a 6-inch wide strip. And I am just using my scissors and I'm just going to line up on my mat and cut 6 inches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So just use the lines on your mat to do it, and then you just kind of eyeball it and go from there. It doesn't have to be exact for the AccuQuilt because you're going to cut a 5.5-inch square, so 6 inches is plenty of fabric, and you'll have much less waste that way. I'm going to cut 3 of these strips off of my yardage. Make sure I'm in the right spot here. That's right. And then I'm going to cut one more because, and you'll see how fast this goes. This is truly amazing. And I'll link down below in the description box. Actually, I think I already have it there to where you can get one of these awesome machines. Okay, and now we're done with this. I'm going to take these over to the ironing board and I'm just going to press them real quick so that there's no wrinkles in here. And then I'll show you how we layer onto our cutting die and run it through our machine. All right, so I have my fabric pressed and now I'm just going to take my selvage end and I'm going to put it beyond this cut here right there. And you do want to be very careful because those blades are really, really sharp. So I'm just going to fold my fabric like this. And I'm going to fold it over again to this other part of the die where I can see the blade. And then I'm going to do it like in accordion style and bring it back. I want to make sure that everything is going to have enough room to be cut here, and it does. So this is going to cut 6 layers of fabric for me, and it's going to go very, very quickly. All right, so this is the AccuQuilt Go Big. This is the electric cutter that AccuQuilt has, and it is by far my favorite because I don't have to really do any work at all for this. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to put my cover, my, what are these called? Cutting mat. And I am just going to push this through just like that. And the machine is going to do all of the cutting for me. And then it comes out over here. And then I want to just take a moment and you can see that you have a little bit of waste, but you can cut that off and keep that as a scrap piece to put in another quilt. You could do it with the rest of the scraps too, but this is probably about the biggest that I'll keep. Anyway, so now I have 6 of my pieces cut already. So we have to cut 14. So again, I'm just going to take my fabric and I'm going to lay my selvage end here towards the bottom. And I'm just going to do the accordion style again of folding. All right, so now I have the fabric that I'm going to use for my binding, or I'm sorry, my border for this quilt. This is a 3-inch, this is a 3-inch strip cutter, and it looks like this. I can cut 3 strips at a time, singly. If I fold my fabric like we did with the others that I showed you, then we can get more out of it. So I'm going to cut, I need 6 of them. I need 6 strips from my border. So I have put our fabric on here. This is a line that you need to line up with, which is what I didn't do the last time. You can see that black line right there. And that's why I had to snip it at the end there. So you just want to make sure that you're paying attention, otherwise you'll have to snip it manually. But we're going to go ahead and cut this one now. So I've started laying out my quilt the way I want it to look. And as you can see, I've only done the 5 rows because that's all I really have room for right here on my table. Excuse me. Now remember that this has 7 rows down and 6 across. So this is what I have so far. We're going to go to the sewing machine and start sewing all of these together now. Start sewing our first row here. I've gone ahead and marked which side I need to sew down on. So I'm going to use a 1/4 inch to sew these together. And I am going to just backstitch a little bit. You don't have to do the backstitch, but it certainly makes things easier. So I am just going to chain stitch these for right now, and I want to make sure that my fabrics line up. This is a method called chain piecing, if you don't know, and this actually helps you to make quilts a whole lot faster, because if you're making a lot of the same, like we're sewing together squares, if you're sewing a lot of squares together, this is a good way to do it. But we also want to be careful because this has a specific pattern that we are looking for. So I want to make sure. We're going to press to the dark side, and I'm just going to finger press that, just like that. So it'll look like this. And then I'm going to take this one, put it there, and I'm just pressing these to the dark side, finger pressing, and then I will press it out with my iron. But now what we want to do is we want to sew each of these paired squares to another paired square. So that's what I'm going to do now. So I'm going to put these two together, and I am going to make sure that they line up, and they do. And the reason that I am back stitching on this little quilt is because it is for a baby, and because I'm using a larger stitch length of the 3, I want this to stay together really well. Okay, so we have our rows all created now. So all of our blocks have been sewn together. Like I said, I created this sheet for myself so that I knew which way I wanted my squares to be in order. I highly recommend doing this. It just keeps everything straight for you, and you can sit at the sewing machine and look at it, and you'll just know which order it goes into. So here's our first top layer, and this is the second layer. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put them right sides facing each other, and I have them so that they nest right together. So that one right here, let's get you a little bit closer here. So that seam is going this way, and my top seam is going the opposite direction, and that's how we want that to be, because then we can just put these two little seams together here and they nest perfectly. That's going to give us a perfect lineup for our squares. Here, and we can see what we've sewn here. I'm just pulling out the extra threads that are in them. And now we can actually press these seams either to the top, or you can press them all down. I think I'm going to press mine up. I just like the way it looks. And you can see how it's all starting to come together here. So that is how you attach the rows. Now I am going to go ahead and start attaching all of these rows, and then we will come back and finish by adding the borders. All right, we're ready to start adding the borders. Now I'm going to add the borders a little differently this time. I'm going to start on my long sides, and I'm going to add a border going down, and then I'll do it to the other side, and then I will do both the tops and the bottom. But I cut 6 of these strips with the fabric, and I actually only need 4 strips. So that worked out great, because then I don't have to sew any pieces together for this border. All right. So I'm just going to line up my raw edge here, and I'm just going to sew 1/4 of an inch down. Get the thread out of my way. All right, so we've got the borders on, we've got all the rows sewn together. It looks adorable. You can see the pattern. And so we are done with the actual quilt top. We will be finishing this quilt on Friday. We're going to back it with cuddle and batting, and then we'll put on the binding. And the binding is the same as those flowers that you're seeing right there. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial today. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Click the little bell. You get notified each and every time that I upload an awesomely cool new video. and we are on our way to hitting 50,000 subscribers, and that's my goal. So please help me get there and keep on crafting. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.